Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm assuming that you were expecting a top 10 list of my tips for ways to bring your awareness to our interconnectedness and our interdependence, as well as cultivating a consciousness of oneness. So the first tip that I have is start where you feel comfortable. There are so many entry points to approaching this topic. So perhaps you want to learn to cultivate relationships, or to engage with your animal friends, or to become more aware of the physical oneness of nature. Or perhaps you're willing to embark on a little bit of experimentation into spiritual oneness through flow states and meditation. The key is to start where you're comfortable and where you can actively practice. My second tip, as with many of these practices, is to develop an ability to be in the present moment. With anything, if we want to bring our awareness to it and cultivate it, we have to be able to be present and to experience it as it's happening. Whether it is happening in real time or we're thinking back to the moment and trying to savor it. All too often, we are stuck in the past or anticipating the future, and we completely miss this present moment. Learning the techniques of mindfulness meditation or body awareness will help to bring you into the present moment. My third tip is one of the most universal, and that is to seek out moments of awe in nature. We can experience those moments of awe where we feel the smallness of our being in the universe, as well as the vastness of that thing of which we're a part. And we can experience that, for instance, by climbing up to the top of a mountain and looking over the vista, or by looking up at the stars at night. Surely, for each one of us, this is an experience that we can cultivate at least once in our lifetime. My fourth tip, and the one that takes us into a sense of spiritual oneness, regardless of our beliefs, is to experiment with entering into states of flow and meditative states. I've already provided a resource list for meditation, but I'm going to update that list and include some resources for you to look at to achieve states of flow. Flow states can happen, as I said, through the inspiration of art, whether you're creating or consuming that art, but it can also happen in physical activities like swimming or mountaineering or practicing Tai Chi. There are some similarities between a flow state and a meditative state. In both states, we lose track of time. We lose track of ourselves through a lack of self-consciousness, or what we might call ego consciousness. And in the end, we become immersed in something greater than ourselves. I hope that you'll at least experiment with flow states and meditative states. My fifth tip is to work to develop the ability to focus and concentrate. We can do this through mindfulness meditation, through a focus on the breath or body, and we can do this through the use of recitation of a mantra, or, if you'd like, a prayer. The ability to focus and concentrate is important for flow states and for meditative states in order to allow us to become immersed in the task at hand. If we are entering our oneness practice through relationship, then being able to focus and concentrate is equally important to bring all of our attention to the one in front of us. And that takes me to the bad news, and that is that if we want to achieve an awareness and a consciousness of oneness, then we need to practice. Whether it is with flow states or meditative states or relationship skills, we need to practice them all. For a flow state, there's a real sweet spot between our skill level and our challenge. And if we don't get it right, then we'll get bored or anxious and we won't achieve flow. And with meditation, it can sometimes take years of practicing focus and concentration before we actually get into a meditative state. And if that's your experience, don't think you're alone. You're not. But practice is important, whether we want to achieve a meditative state or maintain it. And if our entry point into oneness is relationships, well, then that takes practice as well. My seventh tip is to be purposeful with your experience of nature and learn the language of nature. Being purposeful means being also caretaking of this planet that we call home. But we can observe the changes in the seasons and really take note of what's happening. We can also cultivate our relationships with our animal friends, whether they're pets or perhaps birds in the wild. We can also learn the communication and patterns of an ecosystem. If you've ever spent an afternoon watching ants work, then you can see how in these small communities, there is a complex structure and communication system happening. But one of the ways that I think is best to understand physical oneness is to grow your own food. Even if it's a pot of tomatoes on your balcony, growing your own food allows you to see the interaction of the nutrients in the soil, the plant, the sun, and your own care. And it helps to develop that physical oneness. If your entry point into oneness is through your relationships, then the next tip is to be purposeful in those relationships. Sometimes we grow up with emotionally unavailable caregivers, or we grow up in a family where there is enmeshment, and we carry those patterns on into our own relationships. Even if we had good modeling, we can still seek to understand new ways of relating with another person and to develop those skills. Some of the easiest wins are to learn to practice active listening and to practice joy in another person's success and to allow what is to be without trying to change it. For those who enjoy understanding the patterns and meaning of life through inquiry, then I would suggest being curious. In particular, be curious about the patterns that you see, the interrelationships, and the interconnectedness that you can spot in the world around you. Whether you're studying science or other people's belief systems, or you're looking at different concepts of oneness, look for the similarities and try to learn without judgment. Find commonality and work together with others in cooperation. I personally think that education is one of the easiest ways for us to understand that we are not so different from one another and that we are interconnected and interdependent. My final tip today is to look for oneness in continuity through time and space. As David Attenborough says, to paraphrase him, we are just one moment in an endless chain of existence, and we can find connection with our ancestors and our elders through storytelling, through the study and appreciation of art, through the study of history or archaeology. We can also reach forward into the future where we'll never live through our care of the planet and through the giving of legacies. I hope that you'll find something in these 10 tips to help you to bring your awareness to our interdependence and interconnectedness and to cultivate that consciousness of oneness. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, then click subscribe, and if you hit the bell icon, you'll be notified when I upload again. For what are you most grateful today?